Welcome to Comics on the Pyre, where everyone can come and indulge in all things comic related, whether it be movies, TV shows, cartoons, video games, or just comics themselves. If you love comic books, then show it by hitting that subscribe button to help this precious media that we all love thrive and flourish. There's a time in every child's life when he has an epiphany. Even though he does not grasp the meaning of the word at such an early age, he knows a certain moment in his life is special. It could be his first kiss, the first time he receives money from a neighbor on a job that he's completed, or even standing up to a bully. One of mine was discovering comics. Right away, I was sucked away into a fantastical adventure battling dramatic foes, imagining myself as the hero. As great as that feeling was, it got turned up a notch when I first read Daredevil, the man without fear. He was a hero that I could really relate to, and so I dug my heels in and got every back issue that I could get my hands on concerning him. This episode is about the reasons why I love Daredevil, the character. And hopefully by the end of this video, you will have a greater appreciation for him as a hero, if you don't so already. Number 1, his rough childhood. If you don't know about his early years, Daredevil, aka Matthew Murdock, was born poor to an alcoholic father and an absentee mother. By all means, he could have been a villain with the whole underprivileged background story and all, but he didn't choose to use this as an excuse, as a crutch. Similarly, my father was an alcoholic and a degenerate gambler. He never had any money, though he worked, so my mother had to pay all the bills. This left me with a strong desire to get my own job at an early age and to always work for everything that I wanted, never to depend on another for financial support. Number 2, the ghetto. Daredevil's stomping ground is Hell's Kitchen, a rough side of New York, a place where women sell their bodies for cheap and drug addicts are always looking for their next hit. Similarly, I was born in Camden, New Jersey, where blight is everywhere. Whole city blocks are littered with abandoned buildings, and the crime rate is through the roof. Through time, my mother was able to get me out of the hood, but my childhood memories will always stay with me. And believe it or not, a lot of them are good, even though a lot of them were really rough. Number 3, Daredevil is blind. Even though he has heightened senses and radar, he still has a handicap. But through Stick, his trainer, he has learned to harness his strength and minimize his weakness to the point where it seems not to faze him at all. I was really drawn to this as a child. You see, I was born with Coates disease, a condition where there is an abnormal development of blood vessels behind the retina of the eye. My left eye is pretty much blind, and the disease was spreading to my right. But thanks to my mother and a great eye doctor, my vision in my right eye was salvaged. This created in me an affinity for Daredevil's handicap. Number 4, Catholicism. Matt Murdock is a man who lives by a code. He has morals and values, and religion is a big part of his life. Hell, his mother was a nun. No pun intended. With this said, he is always trying to do what he believes is the right and just thing to do. He dedicates his life to a higher cause, even though often he pays a high price. Similarly, I was raised Catholic, and I have a Spanish mother. And anyone can tell you who knows or has a Spanish mother that they are normally super religious. Our Mother Mary statue on the front lawn, Jesus candle holders, and pictures of Jesus suffering on a cross scattered throughout the house. Even though I strayed from the religion of my birth, many of the values my mother and Christ instilled in me at an early age, I still carry with me to this day. So believe me, I understand Matt's plight. Number 5. Daredevil's human. And what I mean by that is, sure, he has a radar and heightened senses, but still, he's physically a normal guy. If you cut him, he will bleed. He is subject to all the bodily harm that I can feel as a person myself, which makes me relate to him even more. Through constant training, he has built up his body to endure extreme conditions. When I see him do that, I think I can condition myself as well. No excuses. Number 6. Being a vigilante and a lawyer at the same time. This made me really interested in the character. I really dug the contradictory situation. But I also realized that some battles are not to be won by fists alone. It takes brains as well as brawns to win fights. And to be a man, intelligence is just as important as physical prowess. That is why I constantly work out, as well as read, watch documentaries, and have friends who I can have intelligent debates with. Steel sharpens steel, after all. And lastly, number 7. And perhaps the most profound reason I read Daredevil even to this day. Frank Miller. I mean, as a kid, this guy really blew my mind. His artwork and the themes he dealt with, I thought were way ahead of his times on DD. Don't get me wrong, I still love my X-Men, Spider-Man, and Hulk. But Daredevil was in another league all to himself. The artwork was not bright and happy-go-lucky. It was dark and gritty, like the environment the character survived in. And it seemed to make no excuses for itself. This is my world. Deal with it, it said. And as for the topics and overall atmosphere for the stories, you had thugs, gangsters, drug addicts, and drug dealers. There was blood and death throughout the panels, but never too much and never without a sense of purpose. To me, it was like watching Ford Coppola's Godfather, but just on paper. To this day, I still go back and read Frank's work, and it still gives me chills. A true classic that I believe will stand the test of time. Well, there you go. 7 reasons why I fell in love with the character Daredevil, the man without fear. If you have a time, please visit my comic book YouTube channel, Comics on the Pyre, for other videos like this one. Tap on that bell icon before you go. And oh yes, as always, until next time, keep reading, my friends.